is going to be divided into a few parts. Since it's a very lengthy discussion, this is going to be part number 2. Here's an example. A husband comes home from work and she's giving her undivided attention to her husband. A child comes and realizes this and wants also attention. So the mother dismisses the child and focuses on her husband. Eventually the child will try to throw a tantrum because she or he wants the attention from the mother or from the father. And the child, what's the biggest mistake here? One of the parents cave into the child. Why? What are you doing? It's annoying, it's irritating, it's disturbing. The parent is more grown up than the child. So let me first get the child out of the way, suit the child's needs first, and then we could continue a parent-to-parent conversation. What are you doing? 2 things are wrong in this. First of all, you have to teach the child, parents come first. Mother and father are number 1. Second of all, you are teaching the child that when you are teen and adult, eventually the parent will have to give in. Tantrum is a mini preview of what adulthood relationship is going to be between you and that child. Every child is different according to their personality and according to how they express. That is setting an example. How the child misbehaves today, how he is dealt with in disciplining that child between right and wrong, that is going to be a foundation of life for when the child is an adult. It all starts as a child. Sometimes it goes even further because sometimes children are not grown up enough. I'm talking here preschool age. And they are in a hysterical mode because something by them has nothing what to do with the child wanting attention. It has to do with something dramatic, when children go into a dramatic kind of phase and that they are, they need mommy and tati's attention now, and the parent, it's a must. So, and you're in the middle of talking to your spouse, so take literally like 2 seconds, because literally by the child, the world is coming to an end. So take 2 seconds, try to calm down the child, say, okay, what's your problem? Hear it for 2 seconds and say, okay, I will get back to you. Let me finish with the parent, the father or the mother. I will get back to you. The child is going to calm down. Later on into adulthood, the child will realize, because that he saw it by his parents, the spouse is number 1. Parents are number 1. These are all tips of values and education that the child will remember and apply it in their lives as adults. It's all going to circle around education. The first kind of communication we're dealing with a regular child will be starting from that they understand between 4 or 5 years old, around this time frame. The concept of understanding what's going on around them, they will start at that time. You can start at that time to teach them the difference between what is right and what is wrong. Not what is right and wrong for you. What is right and wrong and what God wants from us? What are the basic human decency of values? A little example. You tell a child, I love you. You're telling the child, I love you because the child is doing your dirty duty, or you're telling the child, I love you because I love the child. Not because the child is fulfilling your needs, but because you as an individual person love that child. That's what love is. People say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Why? Because that person is supplying your needs. That's the I love you. That's not what love is. Love is eternal devotion to that person. What are you What values are you teaching to your children? You have to teach a child no is no and yes is yes. All problems start from here. As soon as you teach a child or make a child feel no is yes and yes is no, and when it suits my needs, yes is yes and no is no, what are you trying to do? Mix up the kids? No is no all the way through, and yes is yes all the way through. This is very strong foundation. From the spiritual perspective, a tantrum is a way of expressing the animal soul. The animal soul wants whatever it wants. It's a spoiled brat. Whatever I want to get. You will never find the godly soul expressing a tantrum. Never. A godly soul is always, I want to do, I want to give, I appreciate, I thanks, I acknowledge, I love you for you. It's all about giving. The animal soul is all about me and I and me and I and me and I. Of course, there are levels. It could go anywhere from selfish to a narcissist. That's all the animal soul. From when a baby is a baby, literally a couple of weeks, months old, the animal soul is already being trained to being spoon-fed. Physically, everything is being handed to the child. So this training already for a couple of months is already from the beginning that it's my needs. My needs are being taken care of. My needs are being met. The animal soul, once it reaches early preschool, decides to take advantage of that. That's all, because that's what animal souls are all about. The animal soul throws a tantrum because it wants to continue on this training of whatever it wants it gets, or whatever it needs it gets. Why now all of a sudden? No. You are teaching the child, no, there's a difference between what's wrong and what's right. And now you're trying to introduce the concept of using your head, using your intellect. You're not just here in this world just to do, you're here to think and do. Our animal souls are referred to as an animal because they don't think, they just do. Our godly souls, they first think and then they do. You have to start training a child from preschool at this age, what does God want? Try to already train and set the path. God is in this world. God wants us to fulfill His commandments. God wants us to be decent human beings. God wants us to share and care and think about one another. The best recipe, discipline a child, is to put them in timeout. They need to be, call it, broken in. It gives them the time to think. It gives them the time to calm down. It gives them the time to use their intellect. What did they do wrong? They're not just doing anymore. They're forced to literally self-discipline themselves. I mean, they're not doing it. You're doing it. That's the educating a child. You are taking them saying, you have to go to the corner and think. Stop what you're doing and think. What are you doing? Sometimes by the child it explodes. They're sitting in the corner and you can tell the irritation and the hesitation and it explodes and whatever. And sometimes they need, because they're not the grown-up ones, you are. Once you see the explosion occur, then you could sit and talk to them and say, okay, what is going on? And then direct them from there. This is the right thing to do in the situation. You did this wrong. Show them what they're doing and teach them what is right and what is wrong. Try to bring up that God wants us to be good people. Bring this a lot up in your conversation so that they can already start to have a connection with God and install this value that they should understand God is in this world. At the same time, you can mention mommy would prefer or Tati would prefer this and this and this, but the foundation should be based on God. If you decide not to educate your children and you decide to let them have their way, you're basically destroying the child. Children need to be disciplined. And a lot of what's happening today is a mother is hiding behind God. So God said so, so you have to obey God, and you cannot hide behind God. It's another form of destruction. So it's either they don't discipline the child, or they discipline the child according to what the mother wants and placing God as but God said. You can't hide behind God. The child is not an idiot. They might be naive today, but basically you're raising a monster. And certain mothers are phenomenal. So when they're a monster in whatever age they're, so I'll take care of the problem. Then you will? When you're in the nursing home, you're going to take care of the problem? The child senses and knows if you're deceiving him. It's not going to come out today, but it's going to come out, because God doesn't want, not you, God doesn't want that the truth should be concealed. He wants the truth to be revealed. He said so, not you. To stand up for the right thing, to train a child according to the right way, you have to be firm with the child. You have to be putting your foot down with the child and leading the child. This is the way that God would want us to live.